Amid the windswept plains of the Sahel, a quiet but radical shift is underway, one that may redefine the economic future of Africa's most determined underdogs. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, three landlocked nations scarred by conflict but fueled by a new vision of self-determination, are no longer content with borrowed currencies and inherited systems. In forming the Alliance of Sahel States, AAS, they have already challenged political norms. Now they are setting their sights on something even more transformative, creating a common currency free from foreign control. After decades under the CFA Franc, a currency rooted in colonial legacy and tethered to French oversight, these nations are questioning the foundations of their financial identity. Their leaders believe true sovereignty begins with the power to issue and control money. It's an ambitious move that could either restore dignity and unlock local prosperity, or trigger economic instability and deeper isolation.
This is the journey to OneAfrica. Hey guys, as you're watching this video, our vision is to reach 500,000 subscribers. Hit the subscribe button, join membership to support our channel, join Patreon and PayPal. All the links are in the description. Do that to stand with us for this beautiful cause of OneAfrica right now. Do not forget to sign up for the petition. The link is down below. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
In this historic moment, one pressing question looms. Can a new Sahelian currency truly become the key to Africa's economic freedom? In the heart of West Africa, a quiet revolution is unfolding. It's not about guns or coups this time, but money, the most powerful weapon of sovereignty in the modern world. After decades of economic dependency and financial control from abroad, the newly formed Alliance of Sahel States, AES, comprising Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, is now seriously considering a bold move, creating their own common currency. The birth of the AES, a political earthquake. The idea of a shared Sahelian currency cannot be separated from the political storm that birthed the AES in 2023. After years of military coups and growing disillusionment with Western influence, particularly from France, the three landlocked nations made a historic decision to cut ties with the economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, in early 2024. ECOWAS, which had imposed sanctions and issued ultimatums to these transitional governments, was now seen as a tool of neo-colonial pressure rather than regional unity. In response, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger created the AES, a defensive and economic pact to assert sovereignty, reclaim natural resources, and resist foreign interference. Now, just 1 year later, the next phase of that dream is unfolding: monetary independence. The CFA Franc controversy, a colonial hangover. To understand the importance of a new Sahel currency, one must understand the symbolism and baggage of the CFA Franc, the currency still used by most former French colonies in West and Central Africa. Introduced during colonial rule and still backed by the French treasury, the CFA Franc has long been criticized for limiting African economic independence. Critics argue it allows France indirect control over monetary policy, trade, and capital flow. A currency that you don't control is a leash around your economy, said one Malian economist who asked to remain anonymous. You cannot talk about sovereignty when another nation sets your exchange rates and interest policy. With growing Pan-African sentiments, calls to ditch the CFA Franc have become louder, first in intellectual circles, now in the corridors of power. What would an AES currency look like? Although no official blueprint has been released, sources close to the transitional governments confirm that discussions are underway regarding the creation of a joint Sahel currency. Some of the goals include freeing monetary policy from French influence, creating a central Sahelian monetary authority, promoting intra-AES trade without reliance on foreign exchange, backing the new currency with gold reserves and strategic natural resources like uranium and lithium. Niger and Mali together hold some of the largest uranium and gold reserves in the region. By using these resources as collateral or partial backing, AES leaders hope to avoid the inflation and instability that have plagued other independent currencies in Africa. A digital currency is also reportedly on the table, which would allow for lower transaction costs and easier monitoring of financial flows in largely informal economies. The risks and realities. But ambition alone isn't enough to launch a new currency. The road to monetary independence is littered with political, technical, and economic landmines. Infrastructure. None of the three countries currently have a central bank capable of managing a sovereign currency. They would need to create or upgrade financial institutions rapidly. Inflation and instability. Without external backing or strong economic management, a new currency could easily fall prey to hyperinflation, black markets, and public distrust. Trade isolation. Leaving ECOWAS also means leaving the West African Monetary Union. This could restrict access to key markets and limit foreign investment, at least in the short term. Digital divide. While a digital currency sounds modern and efficient, large parts of the Sahel lack reliable internet, electricity, or financial literacy, crucial components for digital adoption. Yet despite the risks, momentum is growing. The public mood in AES countries is increasingly supportive of economic self-determination. Young people, who make up the majority of the population, are tired of inherited systems that haven't delivered prosperity. A symbol of liberation. If successful, the new currency would become more than just a medium of exchange. It would be a symbol of resistance, a bold stand against neo-colonialism, and a tool for reclaiming Africa's economic destiny. Much like the American colonies once declared independence through the power to tax and print money, the AES seems to be saying, we are no longer subjects, we are sovereigns. A Sahelian gamble or a continental turning point. Whether the AES currency becomes a lasting reality or remains a symbolic gesture will depend on how well these countries can navigate the challenges ahead. But one thing is clear, the debate is no longer if, but when. The AES may be taking its first steps on a path many African nations have long dreamed of, but never dared to walk. And if they succeed, the ripple effects could reach far beyond the Sahel, reshaping not only West Africa's economy, but also the future of monetary sovereignty across the entire continent. In the vast, sun-scorched plains of the Sahel, a new vision is rising, one that defies dependency, reclaims agency, and seeks to build prosperity from within. In September 2023, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger came together to form the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, a bold response to decades of neglect, interference, and failed promises from both regional blocs and global institutions. Initially forged in the crucible of shared security threats and political isolation, the AES has quickly evolved beyond military cooperation into what may become one of Africa's most ambitious economic integration projects in recent history. Breaking free from ECOWAS, a declaration of sovereignty. The formation of AES was not merely bureaucratic, it was revolutionary. Frustrated with ECOWAS's punitive sanctions, especially after their military-led transitions, the three Sahelian nations saw the regional body as no longer representative of their interests. The perceived double standards and external influence, particularly from France and Western partners, within ECOWAS decision-making became unbearable. By January 2024, the three countries announced their withdrawal from ECOWAS and simultaneously unveiled plans to forge a self-determined, Sahel-based alliance rooted in sovereignty, mutual respect, and Pan-African principles, laying the foundations of economic unity. Since their withdrawal, the AES has taken meaningful steps toward building an autonomous and harmonized economic zone. Roaming fees between Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have been abolished, a move that enhances communication and digital trade while also symbolizing a unified identity. A joint Sahelian passport is under development to facilitate easier movement across borders for citizens and businesses. A 0.5% unified customs duty on imports from non-member states was introduced, with the aim of creating a common external tariff and protecting emerging industries. These decisions, while practical, are also profoundly political. They mark a shift toward an economic sovereignty agenda that seeks to unshackle the region from decades of economic fragmentation and foreign dependence. The Confederal Bank for Investment and Development, BCIDAE, Financing the Future. One of the most transformative steps taken by AES is the creation of the Confederal Bank for Investment and Development of the Alliance of Sahel States, BCIDAE. With a projected initial capital of 500 billion CFA francs, approximately $820 million, this institution is designed to finance critical infrastructure projects, support local industrialization, and provide alternative development financing that bypasses traditional lenders like the IMF or World Bank. International economist Magai Gai calls the bank not just a financial move, but a political act of sovereignty. It sends a strong signal that the Sahel is ready to invest in itself, fund its own development, and prioritize projects that reflect local needs rather than donor interests. Proposed focus areas for BCIDAE include rural electrification and renewable energy projects, local pharmaceutical and agro-processing industries, roads and transport corridors to connect landlocked nations to ports, notably through Togo and Benin, digital infrastructure to support a new generation of African tech and fintech startups. But challenges remain. Will the pledged capital materialize? Can AES attract strategic allies like China, Turkey, the BRICS, or African sovereign wealth funds? Will governance be transparent enough to earn trust and legitimacy? According to Guy, the answer lies in developing a clear strategic vision, recruiting strong technical talent, and building credible partnerships across Africa and the Global South. Reimagining engagement with global institutions. The formation of the AES and its development ambitions will inevitably reshape how the region interacts with international financial institutions. These banks must change their tone, Guy warns. The AES doesn't want isolation, it wants fairness. It wants partnerships based on respect, not imposition. The implication is clear. Conditionality-heavy loans and rigid policy prescriptions will no longer work. AES countries are seeking to diversify their funding sources, promote endogenous development, and shift from aid dependency to economic autonomy. This shift aligns with a broader continental mood that favors African solutions to African problems, a growing rejection of neoliberal orthodoxy and donor-driven priorities. The common currency question, the next frontier. Perhaps the most ambitious initiative under consideration is the creation of an AES common currency, a proposal that directly challenges the legacy of the CFA franc, a colonial-era currency still backed and controlled by the French treasury. This idea is no longer theoretical, says Guy. Together, these three countries cover 75% of WAMU's landmass and nearly 50% of its population. That's a serious economic bloc. The new currency would likely aim to free monetary policy from French influence, promote regional trade and investment, be backed by strategic resources, uranium, gold, and lithium, rather than external reserves, possibly leverage digital currency platforms to overcome banking access gaps. But experts caution against a rushed approach. Previous attempts across Africa to create sovereign currencies have often failed due to lack of fiscal discipline, infrastructure gaps, and poor monetary governance. For the AES, success will require harmonized fiscal and tax policies, a credible monetary authority, transparent governance structures, a clear mandate that balances inflation control with employment and growth targets, a continental test case. The Alliance of Sahel States is now seen by many as a laboratory for post-colonial African economic integration. While critics may dismiss its moves as risky or symbolic, supporters see a powerful alternative model taking shape, an Afrocentric vision of development rooted in self-reliance, solidarity, and strategic cooperation. If successful, the AES could inspire other countries in West and Central Africa to reconsider their ties to outdated institutions, offer a viable model for regionalism outside of Western-dominated frameworks, spark a broader movement for economic decolonization on the continent. From isolation to innovation, the AES is not retreating from the world, it is redefining its terms of engagement. By betting on accelerated integration, local investment, and policy sovereignty, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are attempting something both radical and necessary. The coming years will determine whether this young alliance can overcome internal and external pressures to deliver on its promises. But even now, it stands as a powerful statement. Africa no longer wants to be managed, it wants to lead.